All right, y'all, Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Here we go at 2:05, and it is a red hot Monday. Sometimes, hosts will come on and start hyping all the stuff they have. But I mean, when it's slow, it's slow. It's not slow today. We got big picture, deep stuff to get into today, and potentially some crazy weather for us by the time we get to the weekend and toward the end of the week. Big cold snap coming back in here on Thursday. Lots to do. You get a sense this is going to be another active week, and so far, 26 is off to a raucous start. I think this is a year that just philosophically, if I wanted to start philosophically today about how things are going, I would say that we're in amazing times of reformation. But my gut is it's not going to last, not very long at all. And I'll tell you why. That's validated by the weakness, particularly of the Republican Party, to codify any of this stuff, to make it permanent. None of these dramatic things that are happening under Trump are sustainable if they're not made permanent by law, or unless we keep subsequently electing strong presidents that will carry themselves this way. And I don't get a sense there's anybody out there that wants to play offense. But by Joe, Trump's on the offense, especially on the world stage today. So we got international stuff to talk about, domestic stuff. It's a crazy day. Before I get going too hard, what's up, AJ? You doing all right?
Man, I'm too blessed to be the president, brother. I'm good.
Just checking on you.
Appreciate that.
We actually sort of give each other pleasantries right before the show, but there are days when we're so busy, especially on Monday, I never even see AJ until we're in the studio.
Like, I know I'll see your truck out there, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's here. And then I'll come up here, and then you're in this room that's, like, dark. And it's like no one knows.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Got these bright surveillance lights. I feel like I'm being interrogated every day now.
Where's the money?
It's just what it is. All right.
How are you doing? Because you always ask me how I'm doing.
I'm good, but you know what? I'm feeling my age, man.
Mm-hmm.
I came in. I had a good workout today. I'm doing all the New Year's things. I'm working hard. I'm eating right. I think it's paying off. And so I came in and I sat in this little lounge room we have over here to kind of show prep right before the show. I got here a little bit early, so I'm in there show prepping. But when I stood up, AJ, my back, man, I had a hitch in my get along. I was like, where the hell did that come from? I was fine 10 seconds ago. I think I wore it out. Nowadays, you can cough, man, and just change your whole afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that's just how it goes. I'm glad to be here, though.
Yeah. I'm in that. I'm starting to get to the age now where I'm like, because when you were young, you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, man, I'll bounce right back. I'll sprain a finger, jam a thumb or whatever. I'm like, oh, by 2 days later, I'm good. Now I'm out for a whole week.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's do it. That's enough delay, I guess. That's a big setup. I think what I'll start with, might as well start in Minnesota because that's right in front of me and it's all over our screens. We got live stuff going on there still. Y'all, the general sense I get of this thing, and I know it's pretty obvious to most people, but when you really just look at the big picture here, this is a gigantic setup again, just like we had in 2020. And these leftist organizations that are out harassing these ICE officials, they're doing it again today. They followed Greg Bovino, who's the Border Patrol commander, into a Target today. There's a video of that online. They got people and some media lackeys following these swarms around. So ICE shows up, and instantly all these ICE tracker people know where they are, and they go show up and try to interfere, try to block traffic. They're all doing the same thing. They got that poor, sad, pudgy, butchy chick shot last week. And yeah, I'm being mean, but I'm not sympathetic. That girl, my final conclusion here, that girl was killed by design. They're trying to get they want a shooting incident. They want the feds to react violently. This is an attempt to lay fertile ground of tension and provoke these agents. That's what they're trained to do. They're trained to resist arrest and be provocative and to use violence if they need to and to push buttons psychologically with these agents who are showing incredible restraint. Let me put it another way, based on my worldview and the worldview of some guys who wouldn't stand there and put up with this stuff. The restraint ICE and Border Patrol has shown during these operations, the sheer professionalism. They're being called terrorists and thugs and terrorizing communities. They're absolutely not. They're being absolute pros and getting their job done. They're making the apprehensions. They're putting up with this stuff when other people might not put up with it. I watched Bovino get challenged by this fool in Target a little while ago, and you know what he should have done was take his badge off and take his gun off and just whip that dude's ass right in the middle of Target. But instead, he's doing his job, and it's in some ways indicative of how police have to behave every day all over the country. They're dealing with the worst of society. Anytime you get the cops called on you, they're dealing with some a-hole that's causing trouble, and they have to do their best to show personal restraint, but at the same time do their jobs, and that's not easy. Cops cross the line, they get emotional and make mistakes themselves. I don't think that's what happened to this chick that was shot. I do think her shooting was designed for exactly what it achieved. They are training these morons, these loser people that they've recruited, these people obviously without careers or jobs, or they'd be in the middle of work during the middle of the day instead of being paid to go out and train to fight with ICE agents in the streets. They're hoping for a slaughter. But the optics of that situation have played out in repeated incidents, whether intentional or not, over our history. And leftists know this history, and they know it. They don't just know it; they glamorize it and glorify it. I'll take Birmingham just as an example. When the civil rights guys were protesting, and legitimately they were out exercising their speech, marching, it pissed off a lot of people, but they were marching down the street. And then when they were eventually attacked with the dogs and the hoses, what do we have to this day in Birmingham? You got iconography. You go down to Lynn Park, and there's statues to what happened. The authorities overreached, and it set off it galvanized a base of thought. You can talk about Kent State when those National Guard guys lost their cool and shot those kids. You can talk about other incidents in American history where the whoever's in charge, whoever the government side of this thing is, were pushed to the limit and or lost their cool. And sometimes it's their fault, sometimes it's not, and gave the left what the left wants. I'll say it. The reason I'm saying the left is I can't think of many circumstances where the right tried violence, and then had it blow back on them. Back to Birmingham. If there's any example of that, let's take the 16th Street bombing. That wasn't the Birmingham police, but it was a bunch of people who took it upon themselves to kill people for their politics out of protest, and it drew derision from the whole country. Are y'all following me here? There's history here all over the country. The 60s were turbulent, and I can't think of many incidents where the most violent side wound up winning the hearts and minds of the country. And so that's what they're trying to do. When you poll the issue, and it's why it seems so foreign to the rest of us, most Americans, it's one of those what we call nowadays an 80-20 issue. Most Americans support the deportations and always have. Previous presidents used to brag about how many people they've deported. Deportations are not new. ISIS tactics are only to the scale they're on because of the scale of the people they let in, the type people, what they're doing in our communities, and the number of them. It has to be dealt with. And now you put this resistance movement in between. What you don't see out in the streets of Minnesota are Somalians out protesting ICE. You don't see a lot of the illegal immigrants out confronting ICE. It's a bunch of losers, a lot of them just old school white liberals, a lot of them are aging, that need meaning and they need some sense of justice. They just, if you don't think like they do, it's hard to rationalize how they're behaving and what they're saying, what they're doing. But they glamorize and romanticize resistance. They all feel like in their heart when they get up and eat their Cheerios every day that they're fighting the system somehow. They're some kind of revolutionary. Even when they're in charge of the system, they want to fight the system. They come up with things to be pissed about all the time. It's an endless list of grievances in their personal lives. And then when there's nothing to fight about, they create things to create tension, like the pronoun issue or transgender issues or social justice issue, where they start playing offense themselves just to draw opposition. Now, here's what I'm saying. The ICE officials and the government, all of us are sitting back. We're the opposite. We think the opposite. We're sitting back going, drop the hammer on them. Use more tear gas. Tase the crap out of them. Get them out of the streets. Don't put up with it. But that is exactly what the left needs right now. And so ICE somehow has to manage to secure its operations, and not do something to give them what they need. Now, this officer that had to shoot that girl, it's clear cut. It was clear cut last week. It got more clear cut with every video that came out. Not to mention, I saw a story this morning where Minnesota actually has a state law that Tim Walz himself signed, giving police the authority to shoot if a vehicle is being used against them. And it goes into great detail that far beyond explains the use of force last week. But somehow we're still talking about it. The weekend was really non-eventful. I didn't see anything major that happened. We had a whole different set of protests out in L.A. over the Iran issue. We still got to get into all that. Iran's on the precipice of freedom right now. Cuba is on the precipice of freedom right now. Taking Maduro out, by the way, has galvanized both of these movements. It's all over oil and energy and economies. It's amazing what's happening in the world. We are watching the world map change right in front of our eyes. It is changing back to a situation that's more orderly and more freedom-oriented for people all over the world, but it's not going to be easy. There are going to be more images like this. There'll be more deaths on the streets in Iran, which have happened the last few days. There have been the last 5 or 6 days, we've got hundreds of people that have been killed by the regime. That is not going anywhere for the moment. Trump may be about to get on the side of the protesters. It's a turbulent time. But the turbulence, and this is, I guess, what I'm trying to get across. When you watch these images, and it feels disturbing because if you're a decent person, it feels disturbing. It just does. I don't care whose side you're on. Some of this stuff just seems uneasy, and it seems like the times are beyond control. I would submit to you, it is turbulent, but it's for the right reasons. Okay? It's a good thing that we're going through this. Let me see if I can explain. And I know we got a break coming up, and we got to get to all this stuff. Let's just take our own situation here in America. We're not going to be able to stabilize this country and achieve these deportations without aggressive action. And if you commit aggressive action to deport and to really hold the law, it's the law. We're enforcing the law. And if you do that, you're going to get resistance from these people on the other side. Put it this way, if they weren't out protesting and doing this, we wouldn't be doing our jobs. In other words, it's a sign that it's working. It's exactly what has to happen for this to be achieved. In Iran, there's going to be a slaughter in the streets. A lot of innocent people are going to shed their blood to free that place. And it's what the world needs to goad us to action to potentially assist them in some way to take control of their country. With Cuba, that's been oppressed and degraded for decades now, it has a shot at freedom better than it's had since the 1950s, and they're going to do it themselves. And it's because of their collapsing economy and the Maduro situation, driving that wall between Cuba and Venezuela. It was one chess move, and that's where short-minded people can't conceive this. We had a couple of calls last week that said, I thought he was the peace president. Well, he is. Using the military strategically and in a strong way and in a super effective way, when we bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran, one mission, one strike changed everything. In Venezuela, one mission, one capture, one arrest changed the whole world when it comes to the issue of that pariah state. And it led to freedom, the potential for freedom. It's not there yet. The potential for peace and prosperity for whole groups of people. Not just in Venezuela, in both Cuba and Iran and maybe some other nations. Couple of quick moves, bold but highly successful, highly surgical moves have changed the game, and peace breaks out. That's not war. That's called peace through strength. It's only strength if you're willing to use it. And so when we are trying to set the world right, and so that these people can live amongst themselves, we don't want to make Iran a 51st state. We don't want Cuba to be a 51st state. Cuba needs to be Cuba, a free Cuba. Venezuela needs to be a free Venezuela. And by the way, we need to be a free America. This ain't Somalia. This ain't Mexico. This is the United States of America. It needs to be for Americans and American citizens, period. We're working on it. So it's going to be ugly. Let it be ugly. I'm here for it. I've got the stomach for the fight. Let's see it happen. And it's happening. So don't freak. Don't be like one of the Senate Republicans or House elected people. We've got to have a populace out here that has more resolve than the people we elect if we're going to make any of this last, because they're scared. They're scared to death right now. Man, that was a ramble, wasn't it? I was all over the place. We're going to get to it, that one thing at a time today. Your phone calls, 2-545-9950. Distinctive Pools. This might be the year you finally do it. The economy's looking better by every single measure today. New inflation numbers, energy numbers, housing numbers, all that stuff is looking better by the minute. Grocery store numbers, wages. Maybe this is the year we all get our collective optimism and start doing things again. YOLO, build that pool. And if you're going to build it, do it with Distinctive Pools. They're just the best in the business. There's nobody close. 40 years of experience with Gary Levesque alone. I don't even know if you add up his whole crew, how many decades they have amongst them of doing this work. Building pools and the things that go with pools nowadays, all the outdoor features, creating outdoor living spaces, doing it in a beautiful way that really ties into the home, gets it exactly like you want it at a good price with financing. Talk to them. Get them to come over. Winter is a good time to dig. It's distinctivepools.com, distinctivepools.com. All right, 225 Leland Live. Lonnie's Furniture Company bringing you the show today. They're ready for your New Year plans as well. Any day of the week, any time of the year, Lonnie's is just a good place to visit. It's to me, it's an interesting place, even if you're not in the market. Sometimes if you browse around and look, you might get some ideas and suddenly decide you're in the market. I've done that. I've gone in there and said, wait a minute, that's nice. I would like that in my home, and just reconfigured things and picked up a piece or two because of the value and the deals and the quality. It's a complete furniture store with what you're looking for, the good stuff, the beautiful stuff, that are styles that people want in their homes nowadays. And of course, the quality you would expect with a 91-year-old brand name. I guess we're almost 92 years now. Can you believe that? Before you know it, there'll be 100 years in the furniture business. Not many 100-year-old businesses in America, much less Alabama nowadays. Y'all, it's Lonnie's Furniture Company. They are ready to bring it to you. They'll put it on the truck and bring it through. You can go pick it up yourself. It's Lonnie'sFurnitureCompany.com, LAUNIUS, Lonnie'sFurnitureCompany.com. Y'all go see them exit 280 on I-65 in little town of Kimberly. A mega store, a superstore, an acre of furniture under one roof, Lonnie's Furniture Company. All right, I'm going to stick with Minnesota because we got a short little segment here, and to get into the Iran stuff is going to take some complex reasoning. A couple of other things on my little checklist of things that have happened and developed there today. Just a second ago, we saw a student walk out at one of the high schools over the arrest and the ICE presence in the community. How are these kids going to leer if they don't stay in class? Is all I'm saying. There's not going to be any leering in Minnesota. Okay, so you got symbolic stuff like that. We understand there's a car rental business that's also come under attack, similar to the Tesla nonsense at the beginning of last year. We've got people attacking the rental agencies around Minnesota because apparently ICE is renting cars from them. They'll rent cars from them so they're incognito, and they'll roll up in these civilian-looking cars and do their apprehensions. Part of that's to protect themselves. Part of it is to to have this stealth ability to do these apprehensions. There's also a big ICE operation apparently going on in New Mexico this afternoon, and that's down on the border with Texas, actually. And several employment facilities, people that have openly employed illegals, are under the scrutiny of our federal immigration law. That's good stuff. You got to keep Minnesota's not the only place they're operating. These folks are operating all over the country. And again, you're not seeing this kind of pushback. You're not seeing these kind of tactics and this kind of chaos anywhere else, hardly, except in the cities that are occupied by these mega hyper liberals. We've had incidents in New Jersey, in Chicago, and now here. Of course, we did have the shooting in Dallas where some guy tried to kill these ICE agents. And that seems like 100 years ago when that happened. Their lives are in danger, and you need to put your prayers up for them and their families, as all they're doing is a job that their country has asked them to do. Now, they have put more agents on the ground since all this started. They had a surge of agents. The numbers are somewhere near 2,000 in Minneapolis, just in Minneapolis alone. In addition to the ongoing fraud investigations that are going down, there was a $700,000 found in a suitcase at an airport this weekend. Again, Somali immigrants, refugees, illegals, whatever they are, shipping money back to the Middle East. I mean, these folks are smart. They're using our money against us, and that happens a lot. This is taxpayer money siphoning off the system, put in cash, put in suitcases. We first started hearing about those stories last week. And so the fraud investigations are continuing, but we've got 1,000 more ICE and Homeland Security agents that are heading to that city alone in a surge to keep the pressure on. So they'll continue to do the optics. They'll continue to get on camera and shoot videos of themselves and work on their social media. But what we want as Americans is for the deportations to stop. I really don't care if ICE whoops up on a bunch of beta males and butchy, pudgy females. I really don't care. I don't care how many of them get arrested. I don't care how many whistles they blow, how much noise they make, how many of their kids walk out of school. I don't care. I just want them deported. I want these deportations to not stop. I want every flight smoking out of this country to be smoking out of this country with people on it that shouldn't be in this country every single day that the sun rises under the Trump administration, and that's still happening. All right, bottom of the hour. Let's go. Lead on Live, Talk 99.5. Let's get it. Back in a minute. All right, 234. Among the other big things that are happening this week is going to be potentially a Supreme Court ruling over the transgender sports thing where they've got these grown men playing on little girls' kickball teams. We'll get into some of that in a little bit too. And we're likely to get a ruling on the tariffs, and that's got the Trump administration a little bit in freak mode right now, and for good reason. We'll get into that here in a minute. First up, Birmingham Broker bringing you the show as we get into things this hour, bhambroker.com. Y'all, is just here at the end of the year, and again, there's this growing optimism as people see gas prices fall, interest rates fall, making a car deal looks a little better. There's another factor there if you're going to be buying in the next few days or weeks, is that your pre-owned vehicle may be at maximum value right now because of just the way the market is, because Craig has reached out to us many times of late and said, look, we need cars. We've sold everything that we have on the lot, and we got buyers everywhere, and that's a good selling opportunity for you. So get that car down there and let them match you up with the proper buyer. Here's what they do. They broker the deal. They'll set it all up, market the vehicle, find you a buyer, do the haggling for you, get you top dollar price, and you get a check. They do all the stuff you'd have to do if you try to do it yourself, and you don't get that wholesale price. The new dealers are only going to give you wholesale. I don't blame them. I mean, that's their business. They're not going to pay you what your car's worth. They got to buy it for you for less than it's worth so they can sell it for what it's worth and make some money. So you sell it for what's worth and be smart about it and let Birmingham Broker do all the hard work. Downtown Birmingham, right around the corner from our friends over at Iron City, bhambroker.com, bhambroker.com. All right, so as we bump along this afternoon, let me switch to the tariff things. I think that's important. The emotional story, just like last week, is going to be all these protests and this nonsense. But that's just distraction stuff, and it's designed to be that way. I'm really encouraging this audience as much as I can every day. Keep your head up, keep your focus. These are incredible times. We've seen, if you're old enough, you've seen us make a comeback before in your lifetime, and we're on that track right now. The country is doing better, probably not with our mental health, but with the fundamentals when it comes to money and the trade imbalance and everything else that's taking shape. Our position on the world stage, peace is breaking out around the world. Those are all good things for our own prosperity. Lowering energy is a big deal. Building things in this country, again, is a big deal. Those are fundamentals. Trump didn't invent this. This is just good, sound economics. It's been tried before. So as a stick to get that going, he is, of course, re-engage the world using the tariff strategy, not only to get money coming in, but really, if you're looking at the broader picture, they're wanting to replace the income tax in this country with a tariff strategy for this country. This country was doing well and was wealthy when we had that model. It wasn't until they started digging into our paychecks. What was it, around 1913? Oh, and it was supposed to be just a little bit. They weren't going to raise it anymore, and it wasn't going to last long. It was just for now. We need to take some of your paycheck. Same thing California is doing right now, trying to tax people's wealth instead of just income. If you've been saved in your life, invested in something, they want 5% of it. They're saying, "Oh, it's just a one-time hit. We're broke." No, it's not. That kind of stuff ruins economies, states, cities, countries. So we're trying to go in the other direction. But before the Supreme Court, naturally, there's been suits filed over the president's authority, any president's authority, to set policy the way he has without Congress. And the Supreme Court has taken up the case in the last term, and we're expecting a ruling. Some people thought that ruling could come Friday. I think it was Friday of last week, and it didn't come in the rulings they put out. But it'll be out, and I think the next batch of rulings is on Wednesday. So Trump put this statement out today. It's a warning shot. And on one hand, you got some people that say, quit trying to intimidate the Supreme Court. It could backfire. The truth is they've already made their decision. The way they do it is typically, the typical cycle in the Supreme Court is right after the hearings, they actually get together and have a straw vote and see which way it's going. And that's because a lot of our justices nowadays aren't applying law and history and real context. They're just applying their politics, hiring a bunch of law clerks to write the opinion that supports their politics. And that's not the way the court should be behaving, but it's the way it does behave. So it takes a vote, and then it goes about writing the rulings and putting them all out at once. And there's a lot of busy work and all that takes place. So the court kind of knows how they're going to vote on this. It's not like they're voting tomorrow. But Trump puts this out anyway, and I don't know how to read it. Is he being alarmed, or is he putting proper pressure out there to show the consequences if a ruling goes against Trump? Because it doesn't just go against Trump. If we have, and there's so much complexity to it, if our tariffs that we've levied are overturned, the United States suddenly is trillions of dollars in the hole. We're going to have to repay some of the tariff money. It's going to screw up investment, some of the things that are moving forward. Some of the trade deals could get undone. It reverses engineering all the things that have happened so far. Here's the statement that Trump put out, I think it was about 2 hours ago. It says the actual numbers that we would have to pay back if for any reason the Supreme Court were to rule against the United States of America on tariffs would be many hundred billions of dollars, and that doesn't include the amount of paycheck countries and companies would require for the investments they're making in building plants, factories, and equipment for the purpose of being able to avoid the payment of the tariffs. When these investments are added, we're talking about trillions of dollars. It would be a complete mess and almost impossible for our country to pay. Anybody who says that it can be quickly and easily done would be making a false, inaccurate, and totally misunderstood answer to a very large and complex question. It may not be possible, but if it were, it would be dollars that would be so large that it would take many years to figure out what number we're talking about and even who, when, and where to pay. Remember, when America shines brightly, the world shines brightly. In other words, if the Supreme Court rules against the United States of America and this national security bonanza, we're screwed. He does all that pontificating about the policy and then says, we're screwed. And he signs it, President Donald J. Trump. He's not wrong. I mean, it will be chaos. It'll be financial chaos and a huge political setback to the president. And it would bolster these globalist free trader types that don't even like the T word. It gives something to the Democrats who are in absolute disarray right now, but still, because we're so screwed up with a national neurosis that's happening collectively all over this country, the Democrats still could be competitive in the midterms based on history, despite not having a messenger or message and fighting with themselves and being broke. They're still going to be extremely competitive in the midterms coming up, and that's, of course, just months away. The primaries are first, but this could be a tumultuous year. It could be a year of restoration and reformation. It could be a year of pure chaos, and it is impossible for anyone to look into any kind of a mirror ball and tell you which way it's going to go. But that's kind of exciting at the same time. It's how history unfolds during bold times. And so here we go, and that Supreme Court ruling will be one of the first things this year that could or could not go in the right direction. And I'm telling you, you can't count on Roberts. You can't count on Amy Coney Barrett. That both of those have flip-flopped all over the place of late. And so who knows which direction that ruling will go. Again, possibly it's out on Wednesday, and we'll be watching it. So you got all that stuff in the news, and then you've got not only the president's using, if there's anything this guy understood in business, and he understands now, is where you have strength and where you have leverage, how to push people's weak buttons, and how to get them into a negotiating position. And so in these economic deals, he's used the tariff strategy as a sort of metaphoric weapon or an actual weapon to get people to the table, and it's been effective. With the military, to achieve peace, he's had to use the military. Sounds counterintuitive, and we started the show with that. And so we got a sequence of stories today. It's kind of the same strategy. Apply pressure in the right spots and be strategic and limited in where you actually drop the hammer, and everything changes, especially when they see a country who's has a leader that has resolve and will stick by it. So you've got that, but you've had a series of votes in Congress, and this is the negative side of all that. You've had a series of votes in Congress in the last few days where Republicans are voting against the president on a number of issues where they will not codify things that were healthy for this country. For example, they took a vote in the last day or so. I forget the date and the numbers, but a couple of dozen Republicans voted against codifying the DOJ cuts that were put into place at the very outset of this administration. In other words, they found the fraud, they found the duplicity, the waste, the double dealing, all the USAID fraud. And that's only this budget year. That's only what the administration has been able to pull out and to identify until Congress acts and makes the cuts permanent, passes budgets that are according to that, or claws back the money or keeps these agencies closed. Nothing changes. And all you need is a change in Congress, God forbid, in the White House, and everything that we've been dealing with and had us under such a gun as a country comes right back. They will let 5 or 10 million people in here in the next 4 years after the next Democrat president. They will reestablish the PBS and USAID and all the backdoor money channeling, and they'll be handing out fraud money and welfare money to everybody that gets off a boat. They will go right back to doing what they were doing if Congress can't do its part. The president has showed resolve. He showed a unified team. They've shown some really smart strategy and some stones in aggressively going after these things. All of it goes to hell if these cheese-eating, weak-willed, white flag-waving, cheese-eating surrender monkeys in the Republican Party can't get it together. They do not have cohesion. They've done a few good things, but I started thinking this morning on that subject. I thought, what if they really made permanent that Trump's done this year? And I'm scratching my head trying to come up with anything. They'll run around and pound their chests of some bill they introduced, but they don't get anything passed of substance. Not real substance. They did shove the budget through. They've gotten some confirmations done. But say the DOGE cuts, reinforcing the border, one of the biggest things right in front of us is, staring us right in the eyeballs, is the SAVE Act. And there's a lot of volume on that today. That would change and set standards for voting in this country ahead of these elections. It's a no-brainer. Just this weekend, there was a Washington, I think it was an apartment building manager that was voting for tenants that no longer lived in the building. They were getting mail. He had all their information. So he was voting for them. I'm sure he was voting for Democrats. Of course he was. So another cheating scandal that pops up, he got busted. There have been little stories like that everywhere. Our elections are untrustable, and we need to go back to some standards that the rest of the world has. ID, same-day voting, no more mail-in ballots. Those are just systems designed to corrupt the system. And Republicans are perfectly willing to get their own asses kicked by those systems because they don't have the balls to pass the SAVE Act in the filibuster and push it through. They've got to do it. They got to fight hard. If they don't, they lose the midterms, I'm convinced. Despite every positive thing I just told you, the Republicans are going to wind up losing the midterms despite themselves. Everything gets paralyzed for the last 2 years of Trump. More phony investigations. We've already seen the playbook. And then the Democrats have a shot at the White House because what Trump needs to win, or the next president needs to run on, is a revived economy and a strong nation. People happy again, peace and prosperity. The Democrats are throwing themselves in front of ICE agents, screaming to the moon, assaulting, insulting, and being idiots all over this country to keep that from happening. And the Republicans are willing to let them do it. It's amazing to me. They're so self-dealing and short-sighted in that Congress, in both chambers. Not all of them, but most of them. And the few that aren't will agree with that. It's most of them. It's disappointing, man. I'm tempering your expectations. I want you to believe in the year, and we got 3 good years to live your life and YOLO everything you want. But the future's uncertain after that because of the mess that we have in the United States Congress. And I'm not even convinced, okay, hand Mike Johnson 20 more members. He gets by with the excuse, well, it's a thin majority, and I can't. Same thing in the Senate side. Give them healthy majorities. You give the GOP in this country 60 votes in the Senate and a huge margin, 20 or 30 cushion in the House. That would be a landslide election in the midterms, and they still won't be able to find a whole set of testicles in either chamber. It will not matter. I've already lived through this. They could have a supermajority and come up short because they don't have any fight in them. Those that say they do are faking it. Does that sound? Is that good or bad news, AJ? I'm just talking about something.
Sounding indifferent.
Yeah. Okay. All American Metals. Let's talk about your metal building, man. I always go back to mine because I have to relate to the story, and it's only because I've built one and I understand the value of it, and I'm constantly. I was literally in my building this morning, 4 hours today, either in my studio in my home office working, or out there doing projects on the inside, trying to stay out of the cold but getting stuff done. Sort of getting winter preps done around the house. We got another cold snap coming, and every time I'm in there, I think I'm so glad I built this place. It adds so much value to my property and really to my life. So if you have a residential goal or need or want this year to get a building built, I'm going to tell you, All American will save you a lot of headaches and get that thing out of the ground for you. I wish I had known they were there when I did the project. It took me twice as long, cost me more than I thought because I did it piecemeal and sort of with the wrong folks. All American can get you straight. It starts with the design, which they do for you, and that's a place where you need expertise. You might be able to eyeball it and go, well, I need a 20 by 50 or I need a 30 by whatever. But they'll be able to stress test that for you and give you some ideas and thoughts about usage and placement that you might not have considered because they're pros. They build these things all the time. From there, they'll spit you out some plans. You use that to get your zoning done if you need that and everything that goes with it, financing, whatever's on your end. And then when you're ready, they're going to produce that building for you themselves. They control the entire process. They make all the components themselves, and they keep stuff on the shelves. So if there's ever an issue, they can always replace a part. They'll pack it up for you once they know it's right because they drew the plans. They know what needs to be done. They're not getting these parts from all over. They're building them. They're manufacturing your building and every component, putting it on the truck and sending it to you. They'll give you some help organizing a contractor to get it out of the ground. Some of y'all may be doing it yourself, or you may be a contractor yourself, and you just need a good supplier for this stuff to get these buildings built. Make it All American. A great patriotic family, 2 generations that go back to the 1960s. I guess they're 60-plus years of putting up steel buildings. And don't forget, they can handle anything that's on the commercial side as well. It's really the larger part of their business, building big warehouses, retail build-outs, mini storage, any of these investment applications. All American can handle it. It's aa-metal.com, aa-metal.com. Hey, it's 2:55, Leland Live, talking to 995 Alabama Gold Refinery. I'm going to reach out to Steve and say, maybe you ought to change the name to Alabama Silver Refinery. I'm telling you, I was looking at a report on silver today. I think it passed $85 an ounce. I can close my eyes and remember it seems like just last year, I don't have a chart in front of me, it was at 30. Silver's been on a tear. And so if you invested wisely in it, you're in pretty good shape. The other side of that is if you have scrap, and a lot of people have both. They have gold, old jewelry pieces or silver pieces or whatever. It's worth some money right now and maybe a good time to cash in. Either way, I've got an exchange for you, and that's, of course, Alabama Gold Refinery over in Homewood. It's everything you want in a place like this. It's got all the security you want. Good, convenient location, easy to find right across from that big Regions building on 29th and Homewood. Steve's a great guy to do business with. They're fair with their payouts and pricing, both if you're buying or selling. It's just a nice place to do these exchanges. So it's silver, platinum, gold, all the precious metals in any form you want to bring it in. And, of course, they buy, sell, or trade. They do all of it. And so people sometimes want to move in and out of these things. Some people want to hold for a while or cash out and use the money for something. And this makes it possible. So then your job is just to go secure it. If you're going to buy, say, gold or silver and park it somewhere, that's up to you. And some people want that. Of course, I know there are systems where you can have a certificate. It's a little piece of paper that says, hey, we're holding this gold for you in Switzerland. Good luck when the meltdown happens. I was watching Chernobyl last night and how close the world came to just freaking ending over that. If you've never seen that movie, if you've never seen Chernobyl, it happened in the 80s, and I remember the whole world being shocked by it. But we came closer to just almost a mass extinction event than people realize with that meltdown at that nuclear facility in Ukraine. Still in the news today, by the way. But it got me thinking about how quickly things change, things we don't expect. That movie is as much about, it's not even about nuclear power, it's about incompetence. It's about government hubris and arrogance and incompetence. And then you look around the world, in our country and in other countries, the same incompetence is still there. My whole point is stock up and prepare. We even talked about it. Everybody was taking iodine tablets immediately after to help with the absorption of the radiation into the thyroid. If you just read about it, I don't even have time to explain it. And I thought maybe I need that in the prep kit. So some people stock up on precious metals, and some people park a little cash. Some people, of course, have food supplies and things like that. But think about what you're doing, and if you want to add precious metals to your emergency contingency, then Steve and those guys over at Alabama Gold Refinery are exactly who you need to talk to. AGR, Alabama Gold Refinery, alabamagoldrefinery.com. All right, I was just giving the Somalians credit for not showing up and fighting ICE in the streets. And as soon as I said it, they showed up and started confronting ICE in the streets. This is at a little shopping center somewhere. It's not directly in Minneapolis. I think it's in St. Cloud, Minnesota, wherever that is. And apparently there were some ICE operations going on at a strip center there. And our friends from Somalia took great exception. Here's what the chaos sounded like. That sounds just like Mogadishu. So I'll give them credit. I didn't hear a single F-bomb. Sometimes when you have these protests, when you got those white losers, that's a core of their speech. And so all you get are F-bombs. And then we can't use it on the radio because then I have to go send it to AJ and he has to spend 15 minutes trying to sort it out. One of the tactics they all use, and their swarm tactics are pretty impressive. ICE shows up somewhere, and then within minutes, they got hundreds of these people all around them. But they love blowing whistles. I guess it's not as bad at, when they beat drums, sometimes we'll see these left-wing protests, and they all got drums.
Yeah, and they'll be all off beat.
Bring a snare drum, and at least drop a beat, and y'all get together like you're in a, marching band or something. But they're just all over the place because, these white people with the tattoos, they want to be tribal. And so they bring
the Zuzuvela, whatever that.
The Vuvuzela?
Yeah, bring those back.
I learned those at a soccer game. That's a loud thing. Don't give them any ideas. Those things are loud. They could run around there with vuvuzelas, and you wouldn't be able to hear any F-bombs. Vuvuzela.
Or use that as a way to censor yourself.
True that. Mother. I brought one into the studio about 15 years ago and blew it on the air. They're just this plastic pipe. They love to take them to soccer games. World Cup on the way this year, too. How about that? Okay, 3 o'clock. Here we go. Leland Live.